Hi, guys, and welcome back to the episode of the Spurs Up Show. It's that 1-0 feeling, Tyler. We are back here on a Monday night going to recap everything with the NC State game. First off, if you do want to follow the show, be sure to check us out on iTunes at the Spurs Up Show. Be sure to go there, rate and subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like about the show. We appreciate all the feedback, obviously. Be sure to follow us on our Armchair South Carolina Twitter account as well. That's going to be at ArmchairSCar, at ArmchairSCAR. Check us out on Instagram as well. Have some unique content as far as from the games. We actually had a couple of cool videos go up over the weekend at Armchair S Carolina. And also, this is a podcast brought to you by the Armchair All-Americans, armchairallamericans.com, localizing your sports coverage content. Be sure to check us out on armchairallamericans.com for all the latest breaking news with the South Carolina Gamecocks and, of course, the podcast as well. So, like I said, Tyler, it's that 1-0 feeling. The Gamecocks got a huge win over the weekend, beating the NC State Wolfpack by a final score of 35-28 in the Belk College kickoff game. So first, Tyler, I guess I'll ask you, how you feeling on Monday? It's Labor Day. Obviously, we're kind of wrapping up the long weekend, but how was your weekend? How you feeling now just wrapping up the holiday?
It was awesome. I did nothing but watch football exactly like I wanted to. Didn't go anywhere Saturday. Just watch football all day. It was an awesome way to spend the weekend. And to win is even better. I was completely wrong about everything I predicted, but I'll take it. It's a W.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be football season without wrong predictions. You can just ask Cole Kubelik about that one. But yeah, absolutely great weekend. I did the same thing. Just watched a lot of football, a lot of fun games, a lot of surprises, some total collapses as we saw last night with Texas A&M. So there was a little bit of everything in the opening weekend, but just to kind of open it up, we'll kind of go through everything that happened on Saturday. Obviously, again, the Gamecocks opened up with NC State and Charlotte, North Carolina on, Tyler, what turned out to be a beautiful afternoon. There was some worry, with the weather and everything. I was in the stands. It was a beautiful afternoon, a little bit warm, but, mid-80s, which is a perfect day for early September. Just some notable stats. The Gamecocks were actually outgained the game. NC State dominated that stat line as far as the total yardage, 504 yards to South Carolina's 246. They led time of possession as well, 36 minutes and 54 seconds. They held onto the ball to South Carolina's 23 minutes and 6 seconds. Another key stat, NC State, though, Carolina did win the turnover battle, getting 2 turnovers from the Wolfpack via fumbles. South Carolina turned over once on a Jake Bentley interception. And the Gamecocks defense stepped up big. With 11 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, all 4 of those coming, in the second half of the game. Some of the notable and more so individual stats: Jake Bentley, 17-29, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Deebo Samuel, who was probably the player of the day, 5 catches, 83 yards, returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown for 97 yards, went to the house. He had 3 total touchdowns on the day. TJ Brunson on defense, 16 total tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, just was all over the field. And then Rico Dowdle was another guy I spotlighted, 12 carries for 27 yards, the touchdown, but also had 2 catches for 51 yards, including a touchdown catch on a wheel route where he kind of juggled it and went in for the score there early in the game. So with that being said, Tyler, obviously, we spent a good portion of a month looking forward to this game, previewing everything, talking about what we were looking for. And it all led up to the events that happened Saturday. What were some of your just initial kind of raw reaction to the game, right as the game ended? What were some of your takeaways and kind of your feelings after the Gamecocks pulled off the W?
I think it's important not to overreact either as a good way or a bad way about this game. But the running game obviously let me down, but I think that was a bit by design, as well as I think the terrible pass coverage was also kind of by design. But, yeah, I thought we'd run the ball a little bit more. I didn't think we'd run it well, but I thought we'd run it more. But they completely just targeted that secondary like we thought they would. I wish we could have ran it a little better. And then on the defensive side, the thing I've been talking about for the last 2 months is that 10-yard cushion. You just give it to them every time. It's just exhausting to watch, but I guess if it works, it works.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I know me, being in the stadium and everything, obviously just to start off, the Deebo Samuel kickoff return was – was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. I thought that I was really excited when A.J. Turner took the first snap, 75 yards for a touchdown last year against Texas A&M. But, man, I mean, Deebo just set the stadium on fire, just taking it back all the way. And you knew as soon as he hit about the 50-yard line, he was gone. Nobody was catching him.
We didn't even get to see it on TV either.
Oh, really?
No. So basically, the Clemson game ended. Well, I was watching the Clemson game, and literally as soon as they take a knee, as soon as it flips over to the Carolina game, it just says Deebo Samuel touchdown. I was like, there's no way. Like, what am I watching? And then they showed the replay, and I just freaked out.
Wow. Yeah, I'd have been a little fired up about that. But, yeah, definitely understand with the ESPN stuff. I will say one of the things before we even get into the game, one thing I was a little disappointed with was the crowd. And not so much tons of Gamecock fans showed up. I mean, it was all over the tailgates and everything. I think the college kickoff committee, if you will, though, could have done a much better job as far as, when you looked at tickets online before the game, it was saying like certain areas of the upper deck were like $100 for tickets, and it looked like they were all sold out. And then you got in the game and looked, and you're like, where are all the people? I mean, the entire end zone upper seats were empty. There was nobody there, and they were charging like $60, $70 for these tickets. And it's just like, it didn't make any sense. I mean, a crowd of 50,000 people, but that stadium holds like 67,000 or 65,000. So a little bit on the lighter side, but the fans that did come were rowdy. I mean, there were tons of Gamecock fans. I was actually surprised at the amount of NC State fans there were, but I'd still say it was about 60-40 South Carolina fans. So a decent crowd for the people that did show up. So anyways, getting into the game. I mean, I was there. Obviously, everything was – it was a great day. It was a great win. My initial takeaways were Deebo Samuel I think he even surprised me how well he played. I think because this is the first time that we've really got to see him like fully 100% healthy in a live game, showing what he can do. And he is something else. I mean, that dude can play. That one-handed catch he made was just unreal. Well, watch him streak down the sideline when Jake rolled out. I mean, that catch was probably one of the best catches I've ever seen live, if not the best catch. I was really impressed with Jake Bentley and just his poise and composure. And, it's funny going back to the statistics, Tyler. One thing I told you is, I read your recap, obviously, and, when I saw in your recap the 504 yards to South Carolina's 246, I was almost floored. I couldn't even believe it. Mm-hmm. It felt like, we moved up and down the field all day long. I could have imagined we had, at worst, I was thinking like mid 300s, like probably 400 yards of offense. To hear just 246 was crazy. And I think the stat line is a little misleading. But, yeah, I really felt like in the first half especially, we were playing pretty well on defense. I thought NC State had a good game plan as far as, they were slipping out Jalen Samuels and Hines on those underneath routes, and they were killing us. They were dinking and dunking us to death for sure. But, yeah, the defense really stepped up in the second half, 4 sacks. Really like the defensive line, got after Ryan Finley. Made life hell for him, really. And I was really impressed with Keir Thomas and DJ Wanham. Those are the two guys I thought played their tails off on the defensive line. Keir Thomas
was awesome.
Yeah, Keir Thomas. I just remember one play, and you probably saw it. There was one play, Keir Thomas was lined up on the end, and he didn't get a sack on the play, but he definitely had an impact on it. He literally just bull rushed his dude and just straight up drove him in the ground, the offensive tackle.
And we saw DJ Wanham do that a lot, too, from the inside. So
yeah, just put him on his back. And, this is an offensive line, Tyler, that I think we agreed last week that it was pretty good. They brought back like 89 starts total, 4 starters, like pretty decent offensive line. This is no pushover. And, I really thought the defensive line played really well. How did you feel? I'll go back to Jake Bentley first because I really thought – I don't think he had his best game as far as I thought he missed some throws. I remember one in particular, he had Shi Smith on a third down out route. He threw it behind him. I thought the interception was, I didn't really think it was a big deal because I thought it was as good as a punt. And that was something Will Muschamp kind of said in his post game, give a guy a 50-50 play and see if he'll make a play, but could have made a better throw. How did you feel overall, Jake Bentley's performance for game 1 of the 2017 season went?
It was kind of as expected for me. I don't think he played well. I don't think he played bad. I think it was just kind of that in between. There were a few, I think what impressed me the most is his escapability. It looked so much better than last year. He kind of didn't panic. He didn't just sit there and kind of stutter. He just took off or broke a tackle. That stiff arm he put on the guy to roll out was absolutely insane. And then there was one where he was on 3rd and 12 and somehow gets out of the pocket and runs for 12 yards. As you watch
Ghost of Connor Shaw.
Exactly. It looks like he's running in slow motion, though. And it's hilarious watching him get the first down. But that's what's impressed me the most. His poise was a lot better than we saw last year. His throws were a little inaccurate. but I think we'll see that get fixed. The Rico Dowdle touchdown wasn't a very good throw either, and Rico kind of bailed him out of it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I mean, I think like you said, for game one, I think that's to be expected. I mean, I don't think any team is as sharp as they're possibly going to be in the first game of the season. There's obviously some kinks to work out. And, they say that, as a coach makes their best improvement from year one to year two, a team in a season makes their biggest improvement from week one to week two. So hopefully that'll be the case with this team. And certainly I thought Jake's performance was, his poise in the pocket, his just pocket awareness was absolutely critical and crucial in the game. He had 3 separate occasions where South Carolina had 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, like you were saying, and he runs for the first down. Just a heads-up play, nothing's there. Is able to find a crease, and, while it's not maybe the prettiest, he's not running like a 4-2 out there. The dude could make a move and make a guy miss and get the first down. So when you can have that at your disposal, I mean, it's just a game changer for an offense, especially South Carolina. So, yeah, I mean, going back to Deebo Samuel as well, the 3 touchdowns, the kickoff return was just absolutely electric, the one-handed catch. And then a great play on the blitz when Jake Bentley identified the blitz, dropped back, kind of waited for him, hit him on the slant. Deebo had the touchdown. One guy I was really impressed, Tyler, with was Shi Smith. I thought – and the one thing I'll say actually with the offense, this is something I talked about last week. They did exactly what I thought they would do as far as the game plan with early in the game and really all throughout the game. A lot of short throws, a lot of quick throws to get the ball to Jake Bentley's hands quickly. And they used Shi Smith on a lot of those with the out routes, getting him the football in his hands, letting him make a play. I was personally, Tyler, really, really impressed with the game plan and just the overall execution of that game plan from Kurt Roper.
Oh, yeah. Did you get a chance to watch the South Carolina football show or the Todd Ellis show thing? It's on YouTube.
I did. Yeah.
Did you see the play? It's a lot better once you look at it again than when you saw it in a game and how impressive it was. But it was like a quick slant over the middle where Bentley hits Brian Edwards, and it is an absolute cannon, perfectly fired in between 2 defenders. That was such an impressive throw that I don't think we would have seen last year.
Yeah, I mean, you can just Jake Bentley exudes confidence. I mean, he did last year, and he didn't even know what he was doing. So, now it's like he's really leading this team and taking the team on his back. I mean, you can definitely see it. I mean, he's the clear-cut leader of this offense and of this team, I think, as a whole. So, and you could see it as well. I mean, I'm sure you watch, the post-game in the locker room where Jake Bentley's like, hey, offense, we picked you guys up the first half. Defense, y'all picked us up the second half. That's what a team's all about. He's the vocal leader. He leads on the field, leads by example as well. So, it's always good to have that. There's kind of an old adage in football, when you have a quarterback, you have hope, and that's exactly what Jake Bentley brings South Carolina. One of the things, Tyler, I was a little, surprised about on the offensive side was nothing really going on for Casey Crosby and Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst has had just 1 catch for -2 yards. However, Will Muschamp did point him out as one of his MVPs for the offense on Saturday. What do you think it was that NC State did? Do you think they were focused on him as far as taking him out of the game plan? Do you think that he wasn't so much involved in the game plan from Roper? I wasn't really – even being in the stadium, I thought there just weren't a lot of plays where Hayden was really the main target, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they wanted to use Hayden and Casey as additional blockers, and I think that's why Muschamp was such high praise with him. I don't think that they anticipated the offensive line to play as well as they did. But, yeah, I think that getting those additional blockers was huge because, I think we only saw 1 target towards Hayden Hurst and nothing towards Casey Crosby. So I think it was a game plan thing. I don't think NC State completely took him out because they didn't take any of the Deebo or anybody else out. So I think it was a game plan on Kurt Roper's part, and if it was, it was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I will say I'm sure you saw the Rico Dowdle touchdown run. He made obviously kind of like a Marcus Lattimore run where he bounces outside. Hayden Hurst, he blew up his guy on that running play. I mean, just absolutely blew him up, pushed him from the line of scrimmage out of the back of the end zone, basically. So, obviously I think that's what Will Muschamp was pointing him as one of the MVPs of the game. And yeah, it's something that it doesn't really go in the stat book, but definitely having them in there blocking, I mean, it really helped. And Tyler, I'll get your opinion on it in a second, but I really was impressed with the offensive line being there in person. I mean, with how much we had heard about that NC State D line and just how much, hype they were getting coming in the game. They were for real. I mean, just looking at those dudes, those are some real athletes they have up front, especially Bradley Chubb. I mean, he is a very good football player, and he's going to play a lot for a long time at the next level. Personally, me, Tyler, I was really impressed with the offensive line. I thought Malik Young did a good job at least limiting him. And then it was Jake Bentley's just elusiveness, being able to frustrate that defensive line. And like I said, get the ball out quickly. But overall, I mean, I would grade highly for the offensive line. I think they played really well, and it's got to be something that's really exciting for Gamecock fans to see.
Oh, yeah, Malik Young really surprised me. I mean, he surprised everybody. I was watching social media, and just the whole time, just Malik Young. So, yeah, he earned a starting job, and he took advantage of it. The rest of the offensive line played great too, but we just didn't see the running game, and I don't know. Obviously, that was probably part by design. But, yeah, pass protection was okay. But limiting those big guys was huge.
Yeah, and I definitely think there's, definitely some things to be gained and worked on in the running game. I agree with you. I think it was more so a game plan thing, though, and really taking. I mean, it's kind of like, when you come into a game like this, the strength of that team is their defensive line. Why try to keep pounding into it, take advantage of the weak secondary? I mean, you kind of have to take what the defense gives you, and I think that's exactly what they did. So, moving, to the defense, obviously was a hot topic. I saw a lot of different takes on this, Tyler, after the game. I was texting you throughout the game, and you were telling me that this bend but don't break defense will be the death of you. I think watching South Carolina football this season if they keep playing like that. But the defense was opportunistic, making big plays in the second half. Obviously, the 4 sacks, the 2 turnovers they got. What was sort of your overall feeling about the defense? How do you feel? Because obviously NC State was able to get a ton of yards, but the Gamecocks obviously won the stat where it mattered the most, which is the scoreboard. How do you feel going into week 2 now, and kind of from about this defense as a whole?
I think it was kind of the opposite of what we talked about last week. Defensive line, I thought, was going to be a huge question mark, but they played extremely well. So did the linebackers. And then our secondary, they weren't completely there, I don't think. But it's hard to tell by watching one game and guessing what their game plan was, because if that wasn't their game plan, they looked terrible. And the whole game, I'm sure I texted you 1,000 times about Jamarcus King. That was the most frustrating thing I've ever seen in my life. Because did you rewatch the game today? Was that you that sent me that?
Yeah, well, I watched a good bit of it. I mean, I saw all the plays of Jamarcus King. Just didn't get his head around, I don't think, once.
He did that 4 times the entire game. Right. Like, it's so frustrating. Just turn around. You know the ball's coming. But, I mean, he could have had pass interference called on every single one of those. Another thing, I guess as a cornerback, it's a good thing not to hear their name a lot the entire game. And we didn't hear a thing about Rashad Fenton the whole game. And
besides the recovered fumble.
Yeah, exactly. He must play great because we didn't really see him.
Yeah, I think at this point right now, I'm not giving up on Jamarcus King. I think he had a bad game. I mean, there's no question, but I would still be willing to say Rashad Fenton is by far the best corner on the Gamecocks roster. I mean, there's a reason you didn't hear his name. I don't think they really targeted him all that much. And he played great in coverage. Obviously had the fumble recovery as well. But I'll tell you this, Tyler, and this is something we really talked about all preseason and last week as well. But I will say our defense looked a lot faster. I mean, with not making all the plays and Jamarcus King had his struggles, they looked so much faster with Chris Lamons at safety, and then DJ Smith looked really good as well. But they looked like a much, much quicker unit, in my opinion, just from last year. I mean, it was night and day difference just seeing it live.
The other thing I noticed, along with team speed, I agree with that 100%, is tackling an open field. They wrapped up and they got the guy as soon as they got to him. They didn't try and hit him with their shoulder or do any of that. They got him down at the spot, and that was awesome.
And especially for week 1, I thought tackling they did a great job. I mean, and that was something Will Muschamp said in his post game, as well, that he thought that they did an awesome job tackling. I mean, you could just tell. I mean, they like you said, wrapped up as soon as they got to him. Like I said, I thought in the first half, I thought the defense played a lot better than it showed. I mean, I thought NC State had a good game plan, and it was – I think that it's great because we won. I think they put Jamias Williams in a lot of high-pressure situations. They had Jamias Williams covering the best player on their team and Jalen Samuels half the time. And, I mean, you put a true freshman on a guy like that, that's kind of what's going to happen. But, I thought he played well for his first game. I thought, like I said, NC State had a really good game plan in the first half. And, but this sentiment that, I've seen some people saying that, South Carolina's defense is way worse than last year. South Carolina's defense is this and that. I mean, They gave up 7 points in the second half. And, I mean, while the bend but don't break, you're going to have to make some stops. And it's not something we want to rely on all season, obviously. But, South Carolina's defense reminds me of last year in the sense they're going to be very opportunistic. They're going to rely on turnovers. They really take off the mentality from Coach T-Rob, as he said in the preseason. We want to have one and outs. We want to force turnovers. We want to get the ball. I mean, that's kind of their mantra. So, I mean, you kind of live with what you got. And, right now they don't have a ton of depth. I tell you what, I was really impressed with the linebackers. Oh. TJ Brunson, 16 tackles. I mean, he was all over the field. I mean, Sky Moore, it was great to have him back. But, man, TJ Brunson, I like we talked about before, Tyler, I think TJ Brunson just benefited from the Sky Moore.
Exactly.
I mean, dude just was flying all over the field, was in great position every time. Like you said, the tackling was great, wrapping up. But it was great to see Sky back out there, number 10. He made some big plays as well. And like you said, the defensive line, I was really impressed with them. I thought Dante Sawyer had a great game. Somebody that, obviously Will Muschamp said needed to step up. DJ Wanham is a freak. Keir Thomas looks like he could be a freak. I mean, I'm not sure that was really somebody we were expecting that much out of, but, man, he looks really good. Aaron Sterling had a big play, another young guy. He had a tackle for loss. I thought DJ Smith made a ton of big plays, including I'm sure you remember the stop on fourth down, where Jalen Samuels was going for the first, and DJ Smith hit him, and he fumbled out of bounds, and wound up being a stop there too. So, I mean, while the game
that was the first down, and we got lucky.
Yeah, well, we'll take it either way.
Yeah, we'll take it. But I'm pretty sure he got that first.
It was a great tackle. It was a great tackle too.
It was great.
Give him that in open space, but. I just saw a lot of guys flying around. Honestly, I was really encouraged with what I saw because as much as we gave up as far as points and yards, like I saw a team that was finally getting after the quarterback and was getting in the backfield and getting penetration. I mean, that was fun to watch. And if this offense is good enough to get you ahead in the game, 14-0, get off to quick starts like South Carolina did Saturday, and a team has to pass, this defensive line looks like they can finally get pressure on a quarterback, which is just something that we couldn't say last year or the year before or really in the past since the Clowney days. So it was great to see those guys as well. Like I said, I thought a lot of the young guys played well. Tyler, was there anybody, because obviously you had the TV view, was there any of the young guys that stuck out to you in particular that I haven't talked about or just kind of you want to elaborate on that you were impressed with?
Not really. I mean, Keir Thomas looked explosive. And so did DJ Wanham. DJ Wanham, on a couple of those run plays, I mean, he got through so fast. And there was like 4-yard losses. I mean, we didn't see that at all last year, and it's really refreshing to see something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I think this defense caught a lot of criticism. I just looking on Twitter, at least, a lot of criticism as far as, all the yards they gave up. But I mean, really, my response is like, what did you expect? I just didn't understand. Like, before the game, we're all predicting, like, at least I predicted a high-scoring game. I mean, I thought really the game played out exactly how I thought it would, besides us, returning the opening kick for a touchdown. And really, Chris Lamons, and we're going to talk about it, but Chris Lamons, really, I think he probably would have taken that punt back for a touchdown had he not fell. He was
running so fast.
He was getting it. So, special teams was a real bright spot. Besides the one punt where Chris Lamons just you got to let it go over your head. Just leave it alone. Bad. Just leave it alone. Will Muschamp said that, and he's a kid trying to make a play, but he's got to be smart. But overall, special teams was great. But I mean, I'm like I said, I think this defense will make its biggest improvement again from week 1 to week 2, and I'm just so encouraged from what I saw from the defensive line and the power rush. And the great thing about it was most of those sacks was 4-man rush. It wasn't like we were bringing a ton of extra guys or anything like that. Like, I really felt like what I saw was a defensive line, a front four that could get in the backfield and get to the quarterback. And that was the most refreshing part of the game for me personally.
Oh, yeah. Jamias Williams, I know we talked about him already, but there were some plays where he's kind of looked like a chicken with his head cut off, just running around the middle of the field. And I think that's one of the things you'll see most improved by next week. I'm not sure that next week it will be a better gauge of where we're at. We'll talk about that later this week. But, I mean, I think once these young guys see the speed of the game and they can adjust to it, I think we'll see a lot more refined games out of them, and especially later in the season. Yeah,
I mean, Jamias Williams, without a doubt, got thrown in the fire. I mean, there's nothing, I think at this point, being that young, you just kind of rely on a kid's athleticism to help you out and make him go make a play. And I thought he made some plays. Obviously, like you said, he looked a little lost out there at times. And, we know all about that scene just last year, all the freshmen we had. I mean, as a freshman, you're going to have times you look lost out there. But, he's a guy, he's very quick. He's just an athlete. And if you can get athletes on the field, I think that's what the staff is really looking for. And obviously he's done something that, has warranted to put him out there. I think he's a real talented kid and has a bright future as a Gamecock, But, yeah, overall, Tyler, it was an absolute great win, for South Carolina, for Will Muschamp, I think. Maybe Will Muschamp finally kind of shaking off the critics and saying he can't develop an offense, he can't have a good quarterback. I think this game kind of put that to rest, if you will, winning a game on the back of your offense. And, like I said, I think this is going to be a season where the defense is going to kind of slowly come along. They're going to kind of grow up a little bit and sort of find out who they are. And these are the kind of games.
They've got a few games to do that too.
Right.
It's not like we're playing Alabama in the next few weeks.
Yeah, these are the kind of games you're going to have to win. This is the type of game you're going to have to win, and I think they know that. But like I said, I think there's a lot of things that we saw Saturday that gives you a lot of room to be optimistic. On both sides, offensively and defensively. Now, I think there's definitely things they need to improve on as far as I think they definitely need to find the running game. And like I said, I know that was probably more so by scheme and who the opponent was, but definitely going to need to improve the running game, get guys like Tyson Williams more involved. I know A.J. Turner had a couple touches here and there, but get him more involved. And then on the defense as well, being able to lock up, you get guys on third down. I remember one in particular, we had like 3rd and 20, and Jamarcus King gets a pass interference. It's just like stuff like that just can't happen. You just can't let them, convert long third downs on you. And the only other thing I was sort of disappointed with, Tyler, is I really thought that 21, I think the muff punt by Lamont, I think was kind of a momentum shifting type deal. You get the ball on your own 3-yard line. It's asking a lot of your offense to drive the length of the field to score, but I was really, I thought at that point, I thought we had a really good chance to put NC State away and maybe go up, 3 scores or whatnot. But obviously weren't able to do that. And, credit NC State. Like I said, they're a good team. There's a lot of people that are picking them to win a lot of games for a reason. But I was a little disappointed we couldn't put them away. But, overall, Tyler, like I said, just being in, I was obviously in Charlotte and at the game. It was a great atmosphere, tons of Gamecocks. And, it was an absolute blast. Probably one of the more fun wins I've experienced as a South Carolina fan, being there in person at least. It was absolutely phenomenal. And just, you got to love getting those wins and everybody's coming in doubting you. So it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, another thing we haven't talked about yet is special teams. We didn't get to see a field goal kick, which is kind of disappointing because now the first time that someone's going to get to kick a field goal is in Columbia, Missouri. So that's kind of –
Or so we think.
Yeah, maybe not. But,
yeah.
Joseph Charlton had a pretty good game punting. His first couple punts were kind of shanked, but that one he had like 69 yards that the guy returned. I didn't expect it to keep going over his head, but yeah, punting wise, yeah, it really impressed me.
Yeah, he had a couple of good bounces there too on the ones that you were saying, like he shanked early on. And I think that's just kind of attributed to first game jitters. I don't know if 2 weeks ago Joseph Charlton thought he was even going to see the field. So the guy that, man, talking about special teams, the guy that I was really, really impressed with, and I texted you guys, was Parker White, our kickoff specialist. I think they only returned 1 kickoff. And that was something we talked about. Jalen Samuels, who's like Debo Samuel, their best athlete back there, keeping special teams sort of an irrelevant piece for NC State, not letting him get any momentum with that, I thought was huge. He showed he's got a bomb of a leg. And I was really impressed with him. But, yeah, I think Will Muschamp said after the game, they're actually going to go with the system. They're going to have Parker White for the longer field goals, and they're going to use Alexander Wozniak for the shorter field goals. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how they play that going forward. It was funny. NC State still has their troubles with special teams. Missed a 29-yarder off the uprights. Awesome. And I was sitting there when he was kicking, and I was in the stadium, and I was thinking to myself, just trying to put, like, Clemson game voodoo on him, like Clemson game magic. Like, here we go. Here's the getting his head. Here's the Clemson game all over again. And what do you know? He hits it off the upright. That was a huge stop for South Carolina on defense.
Yeah, it was.
But, yeah, that was probably one of the best special teams games I've seen a South Carolina team play, because I think we know special teams not one of the bright spots in the Spurrier era, really ever. Besides maybe a couple of the returns, obviously the ace Ace Sanders had back in those teams that won 11 games. But I thought special teams played great on Saturday, and it really made the difference. Obviously, I think that kickoff return just set the tone for the whole game.
Yeah.
It really gave me, being in the stadium, it gave me and I think a lot of Gamecock fans a sense like they were in control. We were in control the entire game. I thought South Carolina just controlled the tempo and controlled the momentum from the opening kickoff, and it really showed throughout the game. So, but looking for this as a program, obviously it's one game, Tyler, but it's a big one, opening the season up with a win over an ACC opponent, like I said, that was highly regarded, picked to win a ton of games, and by some even win the division, maybe make the playoff. What do you think the significance is of this game for not just Will Muschamp, his staff? First them, but also as a program starting off year 2 of the Muschamp era, how big of a win do you think this really is?
Oh, I think it's a huge win because I don't want to say that they're looking ahead, but you look at your next 3 opponents and you have a very legitimate chance of starting 4-0 and going into Texas A&M. Like I wrote in my preview, I mean, I had it initially as 4-0. I was like, it just doesn't seem like that's possible. But yeah, I mean, I don't want them to be looking ahead, but I think they're going to have to. And I think what they saw out of A&M last night in the second half is going to make them even more optimistic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they're and we'll get into this in a second. I want to talk about it a little bit more with you, but there's definitely the other teams around the conference that sort of have their issues, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
But right now we're going to get into our game balls, basically, Armchair All-Americans game ball. We're going to give some out. Tyler, we're just going to do one for offense, one for defense. Who are your guys you want to give a game ball to?
Offense, you got to go Deebo Samuel. I mean, 3 total touchdowns, 83 yards receiving, and that touchdown to start off the season. I don't think anybody thought we were going to lose that game after that happened.
No shot. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. I just get giddy thinking about it. It was nuts.
And then on defense, I'll go out of the box a little bit here. I'll go Dante Sawyer because we were talking last week. There's a big oar on his with Kier Thomas, and I think he kind of took that to heart a little bit. Senior leadership, I think that's huge. He really pressured the quarterback, had a nice fumble recovery. So Deebo Samuel and Dante Sawyer.
I like that. Yeah, I'll start with offense first. You took Deebo Samuel. Obviously, I think that's the easy pick. I'm going to go Jake Bentley just because of the poise he showed in the pocket, his ability to scramble. And obviously the kid's got a great arm and just an awareness about him. I'm going to go Jake Bentley. I thought he led the team great. And I thought it was, before the game, I kind of said the reason South Carolina would win is because of a play that Jake Bentley would make late in the game or just period. And I mean, that was a great catch by Deebo. It was also a great scramble and a great throw by Jake Bentley to be able to get out of the pocket and make that throw on the run. So I thought he played a really good game. I think the sky's the limit for him this season. I think he'll only improve off that performance. And then defense, I was sort of torn on this one. I'm going to go T.J. Brunson, though, just because, 16 tackles in a game. The dude was all over the place, flying all over the field. And, we've heard all the rave reviews, obviously, Tyler, from Coach Muschamp, the defensive coaches, about T.J. Brunson and what he could be. And I think he showed a big flash of it on Saturday. So,
16 tackles is impressive in college.
16 tackles is a lot. Yeah. that is a lot. You're basically in on every play. So, T.J. Brunson, I'll give him a game ball. I think the one thing, Tyler, I was thinking about when you were talking about Dante Sawyer and we were talking about the defensive guys, I think one of the biggest improvements to make for South Carolina is, let's be completely honest, you're not going to win many games when your opponent has 99 snaps.
99. I was just about to say that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, 99 snaps for an NC State to 50 for South Carolina. And, I agree sort of with Will Muschamp that, he was saying that, we didn't get a ton of snaps because of our efficiency on offense. South Carolina wasn't driving 80 yards down the field, taking 10 plays, 12 plays. It was more like, these quick hitter plays and everything. But, yeah, basically put it this way, and we're going to get more into it on a Thursday on our Missouri preview, but you're not going to play many teams and give them 100 plays to 50 and you're going to win. So I think that's going to be a big focus, big emphasis, getting teams off the field. Sort of, you're never going to say no to the quick hitter, long touchdowns, but, being able to develop more of a rhythm on offense, staying on the field, being able to wear down an opponent's defense and give your defense some rest because, I'll say this. I credit the, strength and conditioning staff for South Carolina because even 100 snaps in, I thought those guys were running their tails off. And it was just funny. I could tell in the last play of the game, you can see, obviously, Ryan Finley gets flushed out the pocket. And Dante Sawyer's chasing after him. You can just tell he's gassed.
Did you listen to his post-game interview?
No, I didn't hear his post-game.
Somebody, I don't know who it was, asked him. They were like, how did you feel on snap number 99 opposed to snap number 1? He's like, it felt just like number 1. I was like, oh, bull crap.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he looked gassed, though. I mean, you can't blame him.
There's no way.
He played a ton of snaps, but yeah, I mean, like I said, give credit to NC State. They had a good game plan. And that's the thing too. For as worn out as that defense got, they played pretty good, and their best play came in the second half.
Yeah, they got it down to a 4th down on that last drive too, and then they ended up getting it.
Made a big play. I mean, that was huge. I mean. And even on that, we give Jamarcus King kind of grief, but I thought he had a really good play on that drive, the 3rd and goal, and he kind of ran the NC State receiver kind of ran a slant. I mean, he was right there all over him. So I was going to lose my mind if they call pass interference on that one, but I thought it was great coverage. I mean, like I said, he didn't have his best day, and that'll be something they're definitely going to work on. Will Muschamp's going to be all over him, but I expect him to improve, and was really excited about, the prospects of this defense, especially. They can get a pass rush. I think this defense is, going to be a lot better than people expect. Tyler, one thing I said I want to get to this after. Yeah, we were talking about kind of just the way that the division performed, and, I kind of want to get your opinion for sure, because I'm looking at it, and reason if this South Carolina offense, and like I said, they didn't have their best game by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think anybody in college football has their best game in week 1. But, I mean, this offense, if you want to say this offense didn't play up to its best ability, if they played a not-so-great game, they scored 35 points. I mean, even if you want to take away the kickoff return, 28 points.
28. What do we average on
really good
22 points a game?
It was like 24 something like that. Obviously, when it was way less when Bentley came in and then it went up. But, still like just 24. This was an offense, Tyler, I had said that I thought could average 30. And they were right there at 35. So, I mean, that's against a defense like that's a pretty good NC State defense they play. That's a pretty good NC State team they played. And like you were saying, you look at your next couple opponents. I mean, who we're going to get to this week, Missouri gave up like what felt like 1,000 yards to Missouri State. You got Kentucky right. Yeah. I mean, you've got Kentucky, you've got Louisiana Tech. I mean, you're not going to face a defense with the kind of front that NC State has for a while, I don't think. And, Tyler, like I said, I want to get your opinion. I really feel like after this weekend, I don't want to overreact, but there's a lot of teams in the East. I think Florida still has huge problems at the quarterback position just as a whole. Georgia, Jacob Eason has gone down. They've got Jake Fromm, but you never know what you're going to get out of a young cat like that. Kentucky's still kind of Kentucky. We don't really know. They had a tight game with Southern Miss. Vandy's Vandy, and then Missouri, who South Carolina plays this weekend, has a great offense, but defense obviously is a huge liability. I mean, I think South Carolina could realistically be the one that challenges Georgia for the East title. I know that sounds crazy to say, and we're only one week in, but I mean, if this offense can come to play like that
But Georgia Tech's about to score on Tennessee again as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and then I forgot Tennessee too. Yeah, I mean, and they've got their own issues with quarterback. I don't think that, the little bit that I watched before the show, I don't think that kid
Dormady has 52 passing yards right now in 3 quarters.
I mean, they look bad on all. I mean, when you have an offense like South Carolina does, and you have a quarterback like South Carolina does, and you have weapons like the Gamecocks do, you have a chance to win every game. I mean, you're really not out of any game. And it just feels like, I mean, who in the SEC East is going to keep up with South Carolina scoring wise? Missouri? I mean, who else?
Yeah.
Who can keep up with them scoring? Like I said, I know it's one game, but man, I mean, they've got a plethora of weapons, and they get some guys to grow up, some more younger guys. And I mean, it's, I think they've got a real place in the East and could really compete.
I agree 100%. Georgia's, I think it's going to be really good, but I think Florida and Tennessee are going to be awful. I mean, we were talking about it the preseason. I thought Florida would be pretty good. And then, I know they had a bunch of players suspended, but good Lord, they looked awful.
See, here's the thing. They had a bunch of players suspended, but it wasn't where the players were suspended they look bad. They look bad on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like I said before, Tyler, if you don't have a quarterback, I mean,
but we said
only
that last couple of years, and we still managed to lose to Florida.
Right. No, I agree
had
with
a field day.
No, I agree with you. I mean, it'll be really interesting. It's a long, long season. I don't want to overreact. And, it's Coach Pete to say as someone covering South Carolina, but you take it one game at a time. But I just really feel like after week one, I think South Carolina, if they can play like that on offense, they're going to have a chance in every single game they play. So, like I said, long season, but it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out and where South Carolina kind of fits in to the SEC East race overall through the season. But, yeah, I mean, I think, Tyler, the main thing to take away, great win. It feels good to be 1-0. And, man, it was a fun time Saturday. So I really woke up Sunday and was like, can we just do it all over again? So.
I don't want to look ahead, but good Lord, I can't wait for 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
That first home game is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I'll say. I'm not going to get into Missouri, obviously, because we're going to do that on the Thursday show. But I'll tell you this, and I told somebody else, Missouri, you can either capitalize on what you did in week one or you can undo everything you did. Because if you lose to Missouri, you literally undid everything you did in week one.
Makes that game one win worthless.
Absolutely. Every time you win, the next game is the biggest game of the season. And, I mean, Missouri is a huge game because there's going to be a lot different vibe coming to Williams-Brice if you're 1-1 versus 2-0. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to get into some listener questions. We had a couple questions come through. We appreciate all the questions. Obviously, be sure to leave us questions on Twitter, Reddit. I know we get a ton from Cocky Talk as well. So we'll start from Twitter at Doby1 Kenobi. What was the play of the game in your opinion, and how badly would South Carolina get beat if last year's game one team played Saturday? Hold on. How badly would South Carolina get beat if last year's game one team played Saturday? So if the guys who started game one for South Carolina, 2016 played 2016 game one Gamecocks versus 2017 NC State Wolfpack game one. Tyler, I'll let you start. Play of the game, and how badly would South Carolina get beat game one 2016 team?
That one-handed catch is about as impressive a play I've ever seen in my life. So that's my play of the game. It is hard to say about last year's first team because that's so unfair. I think Naheem Hines would have had about 220 yards rushing. I think Ryan Finley wouldn't have even had to throw the ball at all.
Yeah.
Offensively for Carolina, I don't think we would have scored 14 points because we wouldn't have had Rico Dowdle. Brian Edwards would have been playing his first game. It would have just been bad. It would have been really bad.
The world of what ifs and hypotheticals. It's fun to pretend.
And who would have started at quarterback?
I guess Perry. Perry Worth.
I'll give it Perry. He would have had an experienced quarterback at least. I'll give it that.
Yeah. Play of the game. I'm going to go with the opening kickoff. I mean, just because, like I said before, it set the tone for the game, I thought. And like I said, being in the stands, it really gave South Carolina the feeling like we're in control of this game. We're not going to lose this game. I mean, South Carolina didn't trail all day.
Right.
If that tells you anything. And how badly would they get beat? Like Tyler said. Let me put it this way: they'd have covered the 5. They would have covered the 5-point spread. Let me put it to you that way.
Yeah.
This comes from @TorpedoTube on Twitter again. What did you think of the play of Keir Thomas and DJ Wanham? Did any young D tackles emerge to spell the seniors? I'll start with this one. We touched on it, Tyler. I thought Keir Thomas and DJ Wanham are really – they're the leaders of this D-line. As far as, like, the future of Gamecock football, you've got a couple seniors up front, but these are the guys that are going to come in and be, like, the guys, like, next year. And, I mean, they're already making huge plays. Keir Thomas – they both show so much strength up front and showed a lot of quickness too, but just so much brute strength up front of the D-line. Both guys, I thought, Tyler, played their tails off, made a lot of great plays. Got in the backfield, and while not every single play goes in the stat book, made life really tough on Ryan Finley, especially in the second half. The young D tackles, I saw Javon Kinlaw a couple times. I didn't really I thought he did a good job at least of taking up 2 blockers. I don't think he had any opportunities to really make any big plays because most of the NC State offense was those quick throws, quick hitters, kind of out, and there was really nothing he could do there. But I think it'll be interesting to see. I think Javon Kinlaw is going to play a ton. I think he's going to definitely have his opportunities. So we'll kind of go to you, Tyler. What did you think?
Keir Thomas is that guy to get around the edge. He looked very explosive. He looked completely different than he did last year, a lot more physical. That's what I will say about his D-line. It's so much more physical. They look mad on every play, which is great. And then DJ Wanham has that run stop straight up the middle. I don't know how he does it, but he got through on so many run plays, especially early, which really impressed me. So as long as those guys behind him will give him a little depth and allow him to rest a little bit, that D-line can be really good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We'll go to a question from Cocky Talk. This comes from Wisercock. What happened to the running game? Why didn't Tyson Williams get at least a couple of carries? And also, is NC State the best defense we'll face all year? And he also puts, I hope so, because if not, our O-line is worse this year than last year. I'll start with this one, Tyler. I think with the running game, as far as Tyson Williams' improvement, he was able to get one touch. Didn't see a whole lot. I think it was just kind of what NC State was giving you and sort of with the game plan. I don't think there were a ton of opportunities to get him in. I think that's definitely something they'll work on, making sure he's more involved in the game plan. But you only had 50 snaps to work with. And, I mean, that's just – that's really not enough to get three backs to get to touch the ball. And I think it was one of those things like Bobby Bentley said. I think Rico Dowdle had the hot hand. He had the touchdown catch. He had a great touchdown run. At that point, you're not really going to take a guy out. And, what we sort of expected. This is Rico Dowdle's backfield, and Tyson Williams and A.J. Turner are going to be kind of the guys to spell him, and they're going to use him in different situations. But, I definitely think it was just a situation where they were kind of playing to what NC State was giving them, and I definitely think Tyson will be someone that will be very much involved going forward in the game plan. They're going to be able to get him his touches. Is NC State the best defense we'll face all year? I'm going to say no. I think Clemson's is probably better. I think even though Florida looks so bad, I think their talent is probably better. I mean, that'll obviously – it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm going to say no and probably say Clemson, maybe even Georgia is better. I think Georgia's got
That's
a lot.
That's what I was going to say. I would take Georgia, Florida, and Clemson as having better defenses. But it was definitely a good defense. I won't take anything away from them, but I don't think that their secondary was even close to being matched with their D-line.
Yeah, their secondary was just so depleted. So, I mean, while they do have one of the best front sevens, one of the best D-lines I think South Carolina will face, I'd say Clemson and Georgia.
But it's so much better than the next 4 or 5 we're going to face, which is
right.
so promising.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's so much better than what South Carolina's got coming up. But we'll go to the next question from Cocky Talk. Take'em, username Take'em. Does USC crack the top 25 with the wins versus Missouri and Kentucky? Do you see any possible shakeups with the starting lineup in the secondary going into game 2? Tyler, I'll let you take that one first.
That's a really good question. I haven't thought about that. Maybe not after 3, but I'd say if we beat Louisiana Tech and we're 4-0, I think they have to put us in the top 25 because that puts you 2-0 in the conference and you have another Power 5 non-conference win. I don't see a way we're not ranked after being 4-0.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. I think they'll be – if you go 3-0, especially if you're impressive 3-0, like if you take care of business, especially at home against Kentucky, who a lot of people are high on, I think you have a good chance to be in the top 25, but I'm with you. I think that it's more likely that it'd be 4-0. Any possible shakeups? I'm going to say no as for now. I think they're going to keep Jamias Williams in. I think that Jamias Williams, like I said, will continue to improve. I think that they're going to stay Jamarcus King. And Rashad Finn in the corner is really no surprise there. I really like what they have. Chris Lamons, DJ Smith at the safeties. I think they're going to rotate a little bit more with Keyshawn Nixon. I think he'll get in. Stephen Montag will continue to play. Taven Jackson will be out this week, but I think once he gets back healthy, they'll kind of shuffle him in. So I don't think so much starters will change, but I do think that they'll be able to rotate more guys in as they go throughout the season. So
agreed.
But with that being said, that's going to wrap up episode 15 of the Spurs Up Show. Again, be sure to check us out on iTunes at the Spurs Up Show. Rate, subscribe, tell us what you like, don't like. Leave us all your feedback. We appreciate all of it. Check us out on Twitter at ArmchairSCar. That's at ArmchairSCAR. Tweet us, leave us your feedback there as well. Be sure to follow us for all of your South Carolina content. I got the coughs here, Tyler. I don't know what's going on. Be sure to follow us on our Armchair South Carolina Instagram page as well at Armchair S Carolina. And also be sure to check us out on armchairallamericans.com for all of your South Carolina content, your breaking news, the podcasts, all of the articles. We've got a ton of content going with football season going on right now. So with that being said, Tyler, we're going to talk about Missouri on Thursday. Before we go, any final thoughts, anything from week 1 we didn't touch on, anything in particular that you took away?
You'll say I don't have anything to say, but 15 episodes of the Spurs Up Show? That surprised me when I saw you emailed me the script. 15 episodes is awesome. So thanks to everybody who listens and who's been listening for a while. It's awesome.
Absolutely. We appreciate all you guys. And I look at it, we're on the way to 100. I haven't done the math, but I mean, you think about it, we've got 12 games in a season, 2 podcasts a week. You're looking right at 24 shows. So it's going to be a fun fall for sure. But, with that being said, like Tyler said, we do appreciate you guys listening. Also, one thing I want to say, with everything going on in Houston right now, if you can, be sure to donate to the Harvey Fund. Do what you can. Obviously, J.J. Watt has done a ton with, I think he's raised like $18.5 million now. Whatever you can do, help out the people in Houston, and be sure to donate there. Like I said, do anything you can do to help. We've got a couple of guys, armchair writers, that are affected. They live in Texas, and go to armchairallamericans.com. You can actually support by buying a shirt, Houston over Harvey. So any way you can donate, anything you can do, I know the people down there really appreciate it. But again, appreciate you guys listening. We will be back on Thursday to preview the Gamecocks traveling up to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Missouri Tigers. Until then, we appreciate you guys listening, and hope you have a good night.